Here at Proclivity, we cry together.
Oh, yes.
Not only do we cry with our clients, but we also cry with each other. So if you'd like a good cry, come on down to 712 South Center Street in Reno, Nevada, and we'll cry with you. Hey, what's happening, you guys? And welcome back to the Proclivity Podcast. I'm your host, Joel Cochran. I'm here with the incredible co-host, Emily Rodella. She's a superstar. Everyone's trying to get her signature. You remember the time? Do you remember the time that you realized that you were a superstar?
I still don't know if I'm a superstar. I appreciate it. But yes, I think I know what you're talking about.
You're getting your hair cut. And you met one of our alumni for the first time in 3D. I like saying 3D because we're 2D right now. And she got shaky and she got blushed in the face because she was meeting a superstar.
And I was all confused why she was
You
that.
were confused.
Why? Yeah.
Well, get used to your stardom. You guys, we're so happy that you are here today. We appreciate you so much that you put your trust in us to be able to deliver the information that we have for you. Again, we want to deliver information that is simple, that's tactful, that you can apply today. And so that's what we're going to do. And today what we're talking about is allergies. We're moving into the springtime. And so we are going to be talking about, was that a little bit of sniffle? That was a little sniffle. That was very well timed. That was well timed. We're going to be talking about allergies today. What are allergies? We're going to be talking about why we have allergies. We're going to be talking about histamine. You guys have heard antihistamine. We're going to talk about histamines. We're also going to talk about what helps to reduce your allergies. Instead of just popping antihistamines, Benadryls all the time, we're going to give you some really simple tools to help when it comes to your allergies. And then, of course, we're going to leave you with our top 3 suggestions to reduce your allergies. So this is going to be fun. If you got allergies right now and you're listening to this, you're going to be like, oh, hallelujah. Thank you. Proclivity's coming through once again. Yes, we are. That's what we do. So without further ado, let's dive right into it. Emily, as we always like to do, always binary correct. What are allergies?
Yeah, allergies are simply any response by your immune system, right? So typically what we see are the symptoms: itching, hives, throat tightness, rapid heart rate, anxiety, actually, runny nose, heart palpitations for some people, headaches, fatigue, confusion. Asthma is a big one. I just heard, I believe 25 million Americans have asthma, which is a big number. And for some people, digestive upset and heartburn can show up, and that could be a sign of allergies, of course.
Dang. I mean, most people are going to relate allergies to sniffly nose and itchy eyes.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yet, I mean, we're talking, hey, if you're having some skin conditions, those could be allergies, right? Heart palpitations, anxiety, hypertension. These all can be signs of your common springtime kind of allergy stuff going on.
Yeah, it's a response from your immune system when it goes, hey, there's a foreign invader. Or it sees whatever it may be as a foreign invader, right? So that could be something as simple as seasonal allergies, right? So that could be sagebrush for some people. For others, that could be a protein in their gut, right? Especially if you have, we'll get into this, but if you have leaky gut, it's getting into your bloodstream. And so your body sees that as a foreign invader because it's not supposed to be there. So there's all forms, all sorts of quote unquote foreign invaders that your body may see and want to have a response to get rid of it.
So the allergy of gluten for me is one, correct?
Right. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And this is something that I lived with for years and years, probably 4 or 5 years, without really tuning in. I was just thinking like, oh, it's, I had something bad that I ate the other night and so on and so forth. I just wasn't tuned in. This was in my early 20s, you guys. And it wasn't until I went, oh, let me eliminate this, that I realized like, oh, this was a constant irritation to my body. I
Mm-hmm.
was living in constant inflammation and irritation.
Mm-hmm.
And it was causing all these different things.
Mm-hmm.
Whew, so interesting. So when people start having these physical signs from these allergies, whether it's seasonal allergies, whether it's from our food, whether it's from, I mean, it can be the stuff that we're putting on our skin too, as well, right?
100%.
What is the typical treatment that people are going to do if they start feeling this? Like, what maybe they get a little skin rash, right? Nose is
Mm-hmm.
running, inflammation, upset stomach. What are they going to do about it? What's the typical things?
Yeah, the typical things are medications, right? Like the antihistamine, the steroid shots, inhaler, right? If you have asthma, those kinds of things. But again, though, that's that Band-Aid treatment. It's going to help in the moment. It's like taking an antacid for heartburn. It's going to help in the moment, but it's not treating the root cause. So that's something we definitely are going to dive into today of like, hey, what's actually at play here?
Well, and I'm curious about this. As I don't know, we've talked about this on the podcast or not, but over the last 6 months, I started having a rash underneath my eye, a little bit under mostly on my left eye, and then a little bit on my right, and then a little bit on like the corners of my nose. So if anybody
Mm.
else is out there that's had this, I feel for you. And when I talked to my general practitioner, they prescribed to me antibiotics.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Is that normal? Right? Oh, I got a little skin condition. Antibiotics.
To me, no, because as we'll talk about today, I don't see. So I see antibiotics as something to help if you're in a serious situation that is that it's absolutely needed, right? For skin conditions, there's again that's a Band-Aid and a sweep all of like, hey, let's try this and see if it works. But there's so many poor consequences, and specifically antibiotics are going to feed that negative cycle of continued allergies, continued reactions, unfortunately.
Mm,
So we want to get to the root cause and actually suppress any symptoms from arising in the future, right? Not just right now, right? Because if you were just taking these medications, the steroids, the inhaler, that's just helping right now. And it's not getting to that, like I said, that root cause. And it's just
hmm.
suppressing your immune system further and further.
And the topical steroids is the same kind of thing. If we were talking about like a skin rash or something else, right, that the doctors might give as like, hey, here's a topical steroid.
Right. Yeah. That's the one that I could see being used more often because sometimes we need to break the cycle of inflammation, right? To give our body a chance to rest for a minute while it
Mm,
recuperates. But not, from what I understand, it's being still prescribed too much, right? Where we still need to address the root causes, right? So we need both
hmm.
if we need that as well.
And when we're talking about these symptoms coming up, they're usually coming through the skin, right? So the mucus through the nose, throat, eyes, face. Why is that?
Because if that's the only way, so if you're not detoxing through your poop and pee, right? If you're not going to the bathroom, that's another way that we don't think of. But that's one way. But then also through our skin, and sometimes that's the only way for our body to do it if we're not doing it and helping our liver do it by itself. And so it's
Mm,
our biggest organ. It's like, hey, let's push it out one way or another. If it's not through our bowel movements and through our skin, it's one of the easier ways to do it.
right, right. And so it would make somewhat sense, at least for the skin condition that I've been having, is that during the wintertime, I wasn't sweating as much either. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm inside, it's cold, right? I really went into more of like a strength base during the winter. So I wasn't doing high intensity workouts. We weren't running as much. And when we were running, it was Tuesday. So of course it was freezing cold and snowing in our face. Um, that would have a play into as well because the body's not detoxing by sweating out, right?
Correct. Yeah. So we're not sweating as much and we're not getting exposed to the sun, which the sun exposure is beneficial for so many reasons. But of course, being able to formulate vitamin D and getting all the benefits of sunlight to help our body strengthen immune system, and to detox better. So a couple things
Mm-hmm.
at play there.
And I don't know if you know this or not. I was just thinking about this the other day. Is sunlight in itself like an antimicrobial?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know if you could call it that, but for example, I know people who have eczema or certain rashes where it goes away in the sun, or they only have the rash under their clothing and it stops immediately where it gets to like under, on your arms where you're exposed. So I don't know if that's a good question. I don't know if I'd call it that, but it works in a similar way. It helps a lot.
Right, right. Because I can tell you one thing. Even though the rash under my eye, it's gotten slowly better and better. But the more I've sweat and the more I've gotten into the
Yep.
sunlight, the better it has become.
Yeah, and it's actually I think of like laundry. If you have smelly laundry, you put it out in the sun, it does kill certain things. So you could be right.
Am I on to something here?
Yes, I think so.
Yes, I'm going to take that. Okay, so let's move on. We kind of understand what's going on in terms of allergies and the symptoms that it's creating. How we generally treat it. Oh, why do we have allergies? Like, what's the understanding here? Let's talk a little bit about the histamine. And if people don't know what histamine, we hear a lot of antihistamine. Yet, what is histamine, antihistamine, so on and so forth?
Yeah, so allergies, the root cause, it comes from some sort of immune dysfunction or dysregulation, and that's going to be different for everyone. Yet there's different main categories that we can go over. So the big one, and before actually I get there, they're within these categories is histamine, right? When we have these reactions, our body's like, oh, there's a foreign invader. Oftentimes histamine's a good thing, can help be like, hey, there's something going on here, right? But what happens for some people is it's not moderate, it's overdone, or our body can't methylate certain things properly, and so it just gets blown out of proportion. So the way I think of it, it's like inflammation, right? It can be like too much inflammation.
Gotcha.
It's a good way to think about it, and so we'll get into that in a moment. But the main categories for why your immune system would be dysfunctioning would be number one, gut issues, right? So there's a lot under this umbrella of, okay, why is our gut not functioning properly? One, stress, right? We've talked about this before in the gut brain axis. When we're stressed, our gut is affected, right? And if we're chronically stressed, we can have HPA axis dysregulation, and that's going to cause our immune system to be suppressed, right? There's refined foods that's going to cause gut issues or gut imbalances, right? A lot of times if we're eating too many refined foods, we're getting foods that are not meant to be in our system, like the seed oils or sugar. Oftentimes that's paired with a low fiber diet. We need lots of fiber and different types of fiber to populate the gut microbiome properly and have a healthy gut. We're not getting perhaps enough probiotics, right? That's another thing that helps populate the gut. We could, this is very common actually, we could have some kind of gut dysbiosis or a fungal overgrowth or H. pylori, so some kind of infection in the gut that's just not being addressed, right? So if you have chronic gut issues, you've done paleo, you've cut out a lot of these things, but you're still having those, it's very likely you have one of these things. And so that's where you'd want to go to the functional medicine practitioner or some gut specialist and get those things tested to see what is going on there so we can address that. Like I mentioned before, it could be a methylation issue where you're not assimilating that histamine properly. So there's a buildup, which leads to these symptoms of like the hives or the headaches for a lot of people. And then there's also within the histamine umbrella too, there's genetic reasons why you can't break it down for whatever reason. And so you want to get to the root cause of what's going on in the gut, specifically, again, stress, refined foods, not enough plant fibers, dysbiosis, right? Infections, methylation issues. And this is where a functional medicine practitioner can really go in and be like, hey, this is a red flag or it's not, right? And you can start there. So that's all under the umbrella of gut issues.
Well, and I want to touch on that because I mean, I see, I know that there's other pieces that we're going to jump into here, yet I want to make sure that everyone listening really tunes in. One of the first things that Emily talked about was stress. You want to mess your gut up as quick as you possibly can. It's stress. And what's so interesting about this, because we work with so many hard chargers, moms, dads, so on and so forth, that they don't want to address the stress because the stress is the story. The story is something that's been sticking around for a real long time. And that's real deep work.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to deal with that. So let me find all the other issues. Let me take the probiotics. Let me go on this diet. And yet they still aren't finding results.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what we've talked about in the past in the gut brain axis. That what's going on in here, guys, up in your head, is going to be affecting your stomach.
Yeah. And to be fair,
And
I don't think people know that's part of it, right? And so that's part of our job is to help surface that. Yep.
exactly. And that's why I'm coming back to this, guys, so you can hear this. And that the techniques that we apply in the proclivity method, both mentally and physically, are addressing a lot of these gut issues. Because what we're not realizing is the high amounts of refined foods that we're having, the amount of sugars that we're having, the very low amount of fiber that we're having. And we're trying to solve it by taking some AG1, some athletic greens. Okay. We're trying to solve it by being able to take 2 scoops of collagen. Y'all, if you're at that point right now, please book a clarity call just for
Mm-hmm.
1 hour and we'll help you in 45 minutes. We'll point you in the right direction. Or we'll give you our PDF to metabolic flexibility and just follow those 3 tips to metabolic flexibility and you'll start feeling better 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10 before you even start getting to a functional medicine doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Hit the baseline before, because again, we've seen this too, Emily, from clients. Go to see the doctors, go see the specialists, and yet they still are having issues.
For sure. I couldn't agree more. Yeah. First, get the lowest hanging fruit, the foundations, right, of what you just mentioned. And that's exactly what we do. So, not to toot our own horn, but really, you got to address that first before you get to everything else, right? So, I wish I had us as a resource when I was going through my health issues in my early 20s, which is exactly why we do what we do. But yeah, that's a good point.
Dang right. Okay. So we touched how there's some immune dysfunction within the gut. What else might be affecting us when it comes to allergies?
Yeah, so there's something called the hygiene hypothesis that came about in the 80s as to why people were getting more and more allergies. And it's the idea that we're perhaps being too clean, right? So we're washing our hands too much. We're not exposing ourselves to enough microbes, because the way our immune system grows in a healthy way is to get exposed to certain things. So it builds up, it learns from those microbes, and it in a sense builds up a tolerance to those for later in life or in general. And so if we decrease the exposure to different things like, again, dirt, to pets, to different plants, it can lead to a weakened immune system. And so there is a time and place for getting your hands dirty, literally. Having a pet growing up is known to help kids have a healthier immune system and gut. And so there's, thinking about that. Am I sanitizing my hands every single day, several times a day? That could be affecting your immune system.
Are you saying we didn't have hand sanitizer 100 years ago?
Correct.
Interesting. This is not to say, guys, you shouldn't wash your hands. Yet there's been a lot of fear around washing hands and antimicrobial and all of this stuff, when, hey, it's okay to get your hands a little dirty.
Yeah. And I, especially of course in the past few years, and if you have a kid, a lot of the sicknesses have been even more rampant or just increased the past couple of years since then. And my hypothesis is this, right? We were so scared when the pandemic came, which understandably, right? We didn't know what was happening, but perhaps a lot of us were, over cleaning, a lot of people staying indoors, right? It's a double whammy. And then if you got sick, on top of that would be the antibiotics, because you're wiping out all the diverse microbiome that is needed for the healthy gut and healthy immune system. So very important.
Think about it, guys. Just
Yeah.
think about it. It's okay to be a little dirty.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What else?
Yeah. So two more categories. So environmental, right? So not just the seasonal allergies you think of in terms of like the plants, the trees, the pollen, but things like mold, right? Is there mold in your house? Are you washing your, like, simple things like, are you washing your towels enough? Chemical exposure. So whether that be in our beauty products, cleaning products, right, simple as like spray in the bathroom. Joel and I've talked about this. Chemicals in the products you are surrounded with daily. Could be air pollution, right? Your makeup, perfume, all those little things that add up. And to your body, it's a harmful invader, right? So it's like, what is this? And that can be causing some issues as well. And in our food, right? All the crazy added ingredients and chemicals that are added to our food. It's a huge one. And then the last category being, right, this is involved in the gut health as well. But in general, if you have chronic poor sleep, if you're not on a proper circadian rhythm and you're getting to sleep at midnight one night, 8 p.m. the next night, 3 a.m. the next night, you're not getting sun exposure in the morning, and then you're exposed to bright lights at night, that's not helpful. Our circadian rhythm is so profound in how it affects our overall body. It affects all of our cells on the day-to-day basis. So that is a huge one that not a lot of people think about that can be affecting our overall health and specifically our immune system. So sleep, circadian rhythm, light exposure.
Okay, let's break this down. So are you saying that if I had 8 hours of sleep, I hydrated appropriately, I kept my stress low because I addressed the scary things in my head, that I got outside, maybe even put my feet in the dirt, and that I ate fruits, vegetables, and meats, that I would be pretty allergy free?
Yep, that's the idea.
Weird. Okay. Some people may be listening like, who knows? Actually, I'm not going down that road. Let's go now to, we've addressed the allergies, we've addressed where they may be coming from. Okay, how do we reduce the allergies? What are the steps that we should start taking other than what I just said, getting, butt naked, exposed to the sun, walking in a meadow? No, I left out the butt naked part. Okay. If you know, you know. Okay. What are some things that we can do to reduce our allergies?
So first and foremost is, how are we managing our stress? As Joel said, are we pushing it to the side? Are we shoving it down and allowing our body to bottle it up, right? Because the more we do that, the less we let it out, we expose it, we feel it, the more our central nervous system becomes under stress, and our immune system is affected the same way. It becomes more and more suppressed. So number one is stress, and that could be, going to do story work, right? Seeing a therapist, can be setting better boundaries with work or certain family members or friends, your work schedule, right? Adjusting whatever it is that makes you feel that tightness in your chest or anxiety or rushed, that rush feeling. We need to address that first, because as we've mentioned before, it's going to affect our gut health, and the majority of our immune system lives in our gut. So that's first and foremost. Aside from the stress part, right? The sleep, all the other things that's going to help with our better gut health and immune health are sleep, exercise, quality foods, right? So getting that diverse fibers, whether it be vegetables, fruits, all of those things are going to help create a diverse gut microbiome, which is extremely helpful. And then again, if you've gone through all this, you've gone through some story work with Joel or some language stuff, or seen a therapist for years, and you feel like you're really making progress on the stress management side with all the things mentioned above, then we can go to, right, okay, is there any food triggers, right? Are there any other environmental triggers? Then you can do an elimination diet, and that could be simple, right? 30 to 60 days of eliminating a food that you think might be a trigger. If you see something, great, then you know. If you don't, okay, then maybe we go to something else, or then we go in to see that functional medicine practitioner and be like, hey, can I just get a stool test done to rule out or see if there's any infection, like H. pylori, or gut, like the imbalances of gut microbiota, or dysbiosis, whatever it may be, right? There's lots of different things. For some people that actually isn't talked about a lot, parasites, right? Especially if you've traveled abroad or eat a lot of pork, actually. So there could be some little random things that are lingering because we haven't addressed that. So that'd be, again, a great time to see a practitioner. And then what we want to also avoid, as I mentioned before, right? Cleaning too much. Take a look at the products in your house. Can you start swapping them out for less harmful cleaners? Again, whether it be perfume or your makeup, shampoo, lotion, all of those things. Can we avoid antibiotics? Unless we absolutely need it, right? There's a time and place for all those medications. But antibiotics are going to wipe out all the good and bad bacteria. If you do them, right, making sure you're getting back those beneficial bacteria, but there's some protocols for that. And then, of course, the things we always talk about, avoiding the seed oils, the sugars, right? For a lot of people, dairy and gluten are a great place to start, right? To see if those affect you, and seeing if that's the root cause first, again, for some people. And so we want to start seeing, okay, what's the trigger, right? Whether it be the stress, that again, most people, that's where it starts. Number two, the food, the chemicals, the environmental triggers, those things.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And one of the things that came to me when you were talking about was the products. What if there are irritative products that we have in our household? What should we be using? What do we suggest in terms of like our cleaning, our makeup, so on and so forth?
Yeah. So our blog and our Instagram are a good resource for that. We've posted all over the place what our alternatives are. But things like for our laundry, instead of Tide laundry soap, our favorite brand's Branch Basics. That's a good, broad, sweeping brand to use for so many different things in your house, whether it be surface cleaner, floor cleaner, toilet cleaner, the mirrors, laundry, dish soap. I use it for all of that. So Branch Basics is one of our favorite brands. Makeup, right? There's a couple different cleaner brands out there. I love Beauty Counter, for example. And so start with the things that, like, when you run out of something, contact us. We actually have a whole, it's called the Proclivity Approved Products. We have a whole list, and depending on what you need, let us know and we can give you some options. And so slowly over time, start swapping those things out. But think, one, what do I use daily? Right? That's a big one. So daily, because that's going to affect you the most. So start looking there first.
And with this reduction in allergies, of course, addressing our stress, sleep, so on and so forth, it's going to reduce inflammation. This body's going to be able to manage these histamines a little bit more. What about foods? What are the foods that we should be having? Say we're rolling into springtime and they're getting the runny nose and the so on and so forth. Is there any foods that we can be taking instead of, hitting the medications that are going to help reduce those symptoms?
Yeah, for sure. So prebiotics and probiotics, right? So for some people who have that histamine intolerance, or what some people call mast cell activation, definitely want to figure out if you have that first. But if not, then the probiotics, because probiotics can trigger that. But prebiotics and probiotics, again, are going to help our gut be more diversified and help boost our immune system. So those are first and foremost. But then we can also look to local honey. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of that. The reason being is that exposure to more microbes, right? Especially the local part being, it's all the plants and flowers and things that are in our area. Through the honey, we get that exposure. And over time, if we have it daily, little by little, our immune system builds up to that and can help fight that off and not feel like it's a foreign invader. And then bone broth or gelatin and collagen, right? Because if you do have some gut issues going on, at least those can help, help soothe our gut in the meantime. And there's so many good little micronutrients in there that are going to help in general. And so those would be the top things. If you're interested in dairy, raw milk or raw cheese is going to bode well for most people because it has some of those the healthy bacteria in there. And it's going to digest better. So if you do have a dairy sensitivity, it's worth trying some raw milk to see if that fits for you.
And that's going to depend. I mean, we know in Nevada, there's some raw dairy laws. And so we can't actually get it here in Nevada. We have to go over the border to California.
Darn it. Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? Hey, man, I'm going to head over to the border and get me some raw milk and raw cheese. You want in?
Yeah, it's I mean, joking aside, it's unfortunate. Hopefully that can change in the future. But yep, that's how you do it.
And when we're talking about prebiotics and probiotics, what are the foods that we should be having that have prebiotics and probiotics?
Good question. Yeah, so plant material is where, like, if you wanted to start broadly, but specifically for prebiotics, things like potatoes, squashes, cooked and cooled potatoes, even, right? Or even for some people, rice, cooked and cooled rice that creates a resistant starch, which is like a prebiotic. So just think fruits and veggies, right? That's the easiest place to start for people.
Gotcha.
There are more specific ones. You can literally research it, but in general, that's going to be your best start. Probiotic rich foods, super important that not a lot of people get. Things like sauerkraut, kimchi, kefir, yogurt, right? Yogurt with actual added probiotics to it. Some actually don't have that, oddly enough. So check the ingredient label that you see probiotics added to the ingredients.
How often should we be having prebiotics and probiotics?
Prebiotics, for most people, daily, right? There's research showing that up 4 to 6 doses of each a day actually helps improve your gut. But for some people, again, if you're having, say you have like a kombucha or sauerkraut and you have a reaction, like you have to go to the bathroom or any of the reactions or symptoms we mentioned before, again, that might be a sign that you have a buildup of histamine and you may need to actually avoid those for a bit while you figure out that root cause. So for some people, it might be like once a week if you have some reactions. But for most, we want a daily exposure to both prebiotics and probiotics.
Gotcha. So this is working it in from the root, right? We're coming inside. Is there anything that you do for allergies to soothe those symptoms outside of ingesting anything? I use like a neti pot. Like I flush my nose when I start getting real, I feel like I'm blowing my nose all the time. I'll hit the neti pot to get that deep kind of saline swish out. And I found that to help. Is there anything that you use, essential oils or anything else for?
There are little things you can experiment with. It's going to be totally different depending on the person, though, right? To me, I think of, okay, well, what are some known triggers for me, right? Can I just keep things simple for that day? And so, yeah, I think of like, am I getting my rest? Am I eating the foods that I know make my gut feel good, right? Maybe I do need to fast for a few hours. So it's very person dependent, but I love that idea of the neti pot, taking a shower to clear your systems out. What can you do to help you go to the bathroom and have a bowel movement? Can you sweat a little bit, right, to help those detox pathways?
You think sauna would help?
Oh yeah, that's huge. That's one of the main reasons I have a red light sauna. It's really helpful, the red light for your immune system. And then, like I said, sweating is a detox pathway.
What about getting into the river when it's 30 degrees? You think that'll help?
That does help actually too. A little cold exposure does boost your immune system function. So yes.
Interesting. Sunshine, cold exposure, hot exposure, being in nature, eating what nature gives us.
Sunshine, yep.
Interesting. You can call us hippity dippity if you want. Maybe you don't even know what hippity dippity is. But at the same time, it works and we're pros. We know what we're doing. You're more welcome to join us. We'd love for you to join us. Join the growing Proclivity alumni. We're getting bigger and bigger. And sooner or later, guess what? We're taking over the world. Anywho, we'll talk about that in another episode. So let's leave them, Emily, with our top 3. What are the top 3 things? We've talked about a lot of things today. We talked about allergies. We talked about the symptoms of it, where they're coming from, seasonal allergies, also allergies that we're eating, what's going on with the gut, how to be able to help heal the gut by looking at different things such as stress and fiber, prebiotics, probiotics, so on and so forth. We've taken a look at environmental things that could be causing rashes and other allergic reactions. We've talked about replacing those things. What are our top three? If people are dealing with allergies, whether it's rashes or nose or stomach or inflammation, what are our top three things they can go after right now?
Yeah. Number one, first and foremost, is the prioritization of sleep and stress management. And it can be the surface level of that stress management of like, okay, let's have more fun in our day. Let's get outside more. Let's breathe better. Let's do something that makes us laugh, surround ourselves with better people, right? Do the things we love. But on the deeper level, I challenge everyone listening. This is what most people don't do, is to dive in deeper. Like, hey, where is my stress coming from? Can I be more aware when I am anxious or stressed? Right. And that's something that we love to dive into, especially Joel. So give us a call. It's great. So that's first and foremost, right? Becoming more aware of where that stress is coming and building up from, and how can we release it, move in it and move through it. And that's different for everyone. So that's first and foremost. Number two, figure out your gut triggers, right? If you're having gut issues, or maybe you don't even realize it, but hey, start paying attention. Am I having a bowel movement every day? Is my stomach bloated? Do I have acid reflux? These are all signs that something's going on with your gut. And we need to figure out what those triggers are, whether it be food, chemicals, those infections, dysbiosis, right? But if we start with the stress first, sometimes that is solved by just managing the stress. Number three is paying attention to the quality of our foods and getting a variety of foods. So again, prebiotics, probiotics for the variety, and the quality being, hey, can we avoid the seed oils and get the organic stuff, get the grass-fed meat? Can we avoid sugar and corn and soy? And can we minimize or avoid alcohol as well? And if I were to add, I'd want to add a fourth one.
Well, go for it.
Minimize antibiotics and expose yourself to more healthy bacteria, right? Get your hands in the dirt, go to the river, the lake, pet dogs and animals, right? All those little things that will expose us to more and help build our immune system.
So you're saying for all those people out there that love to kiss their dogs on the lips, they're doing the right thing.
Yeah. I believe so.
Are you a dog kisser?
Only with my dogs, but not really. Like, I guess I'm not gonna even.
Yes, you see, we're getting real anxious and nervous right now because we were putting her on the spot. Emily might be a dog kisser.
I have two dogs I love.
I will kiss a dog on its forehead, like a little child. Like,
yeah, I was just gonna say I like their ears, so that's.
I definitely like your dog's ears. They're the softest.
They are.
German short-haired pointers. They got the softest little ears. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anywho, for all the other people that love mouthing their dogs, good for you. You're getting all the microbiome and whatever they're licking. Whatever they're licking.
I would be careful of their paws and mouth, but yes, in general, petting the tops of them is a safe bet.
Pet lick hand. I
want to be careful of what we say here.
Yeah, we gotta be careful. We love dogs, and we even love people who mouth their dogs. If that's your thing, go for it. You guys, thank you so much for joining us today on the Proclivity Podcast. Talked about allergies. If you guys have questions about allergies or anything else, feel free to reach out to us, Joel at proclivity.co or Emily at proclivity.co. You can also go to our Instagram at proclivity.co. Emily, anything else?
No, if you have any questions, reach out. We're happy to help.
We are happy to help, even if you're a mouth licker. You guys, thanks again for joining us. And until we meet again, Emily.
Best day ever.
Best day ever. Emily, if I gave you $1 million and you couldn't spend it on anyone else, you had to spend it on yourself, but you only had 24 hours to spend it. You couldn't invest it, There is no compounding investment here. What would you buy? You have $1 million. Got to buy it today. Can't be like a compound. Oh, I'll put it into a IRA that has a 6% return.
What about property?
Nope.
I'd want to buy property on a river, but that's not an option.
That's not an option.
Oh, that's a tough one.
I mean, we're talking reckless ridiculousness.
That's hard for me because I've moved away from a lot of that.
Understood. That's why I'm asking the hard question.
I'd want to think on this more, but what first comes to mind is I keep thinking like house stuff.
Yep. Nope.
Can I get like a coach or like
$1 million coach? Yes, you can hire me and I'll be your $1 million coach.
Like a personal assistant, someone to help teach me everything. Cook, how to deal with trauma, how
yes,
clean the house.
Yes.
But then I think I would become less happy with some of those things, right? This is hard. That's a good question.
Welcome to Emily's mind.
Ooh, can I hire a designer for my house?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Yes.
Someone to organize and design everything.
Cool. Even if you hired the best, that would probably be $50,000. You still have a lot of money to spend. $9,500,000 still left.
That's really tough. I think of all things house, backyard. Where is it? All things.
You can tell.
What would you do?
I
need some ideas.
What I would do.
I do.
I drew it out in Austin, Texas.
Yeah, you said no property. Can we fly places?
Try again. Remember what I drew out?
Oh, the private airplane.
Damn right. I would buy a jet that had proclivity on the side.
Okay, that's a good one.
$1 million. We'll get a small little private jet that, oh, you want to go to Montana? Cool. Hey, Johnny. Let me Pilot Johnny. Yeah. Will you get our jet ready?
Okay. I can get down with that.
Wherever you want to go. You want to get some sunshine? Hey, Johnny, fire up the jet.
Okay. I like it.
You want a jet too now?
Yeah.
Okay. We got 2 jets. Since we have $2 million because we both got a wish, we got 2 jets. What color is your jet?
It's the color of the clouds, so you can't see us.
Blue.
Blue and white.
Ooh, blue and white.
It's like sky camo. Yeah. I just made that up.
I would go opposite, and this makes sense, right? You guys, Emily's like, I'm going to blend in. I'm like, make it turquoise orange. So everyone knows when the proclivity plane is taking off. And it has sparkles on it. So it hits you just right. And it's like a disco ball in the air where everybody's like, whoa, what is those lights? Oh, Emily and Joel are taking off again. Yep, we sure are. Or Emily, you know what I'd buy for $1 million?
Huh.
I would buy a billboard.
Oh, yep. Not surprised.
I would create my own billboard, own sign, and we would just be on the side of 580 for the rest of our lives. And we get to put whatever we want up there, right? Mm-hmm. Us just mouthing dogs.
I'm so curious who's still listening and
thinking about mouthing dogs and billboards. They're so glad that they're continuing to listen. You guys, if you listen to this, what would you do with $1 million? Put it in a review. The first person who reviews it and puts in what they would use or do with their $1 million, we'll send you a free box of Element, whatever kind that you want. Take a screenshot of it and send it to our Instagram page, proclivity.co, or email it to us at joel@proclivity.co or emily@proclivity.co, and you get a free box of Element.
Yeah.
That's how we do.
We appreciate it.
Toodles.
Bye.